Good evening, online class. Welcome to our online session. I am your tutor, Madam Gracious, and today I'll be taking you through composition writing. I would love to first appreciate the two that presented their books for under report writing. Mr. Jairus did a great job because I've noticed both of them are pretty impressive. We just need a little polishing here and there, but that was very good, and I'll appreciate him for that. Okay, so today, as I've said, we're going through composition writing. So I want us to first let me just first introduce what composition writing is, and we're also going to talk about the importance of learning it, and then we're going to go about how to write any composition, and then we're going to address we'll start with two major composition writings, which is narrative followed by descriptive. Then the rest will follow on in our next physical or online sessions. Okay, so to start with, what is composition writing? So composition writing, this is simply a writing that you put down to entice or to tell more about yourself or about what has been asked of you to the reader, who is the examiner in this case. So why do we give you composition writing? So that we can see your punctuation, see your grammar, see how you can use tenses, adverbs, adjectives. Okay, so all this comes together in one, known as a composition writing. And Joe and I will agree that paper one, mostly people fail paper one because of the writing, but paper two is easy because you just have to choose, know what to do with the rewrites, and it's much easier as compared to paper one. But once we go through this section, through this session, you understand that paper one is actually easier than paper two, and you will appreciate that paper one is there to give you marks. Okay, so mostly even when marking, you'd realize that most challenges are in paper one. But here are a few hints that will help you go through paper one and still be able to get that 20 marks from section A and the other one within the 145 minutes given to you. Okay, so as I said, we'll go through narrative, then we'll go through descriptive writing. Okay, so before we go into that, so we're going to start with how to write a good composition. So you realize that your paper one, English paper one, the first 6 questions in section A are on composition writing. Here I have a sample with me. It's not very visible, but if you have any past paper, you realize that this is your section A. So usually you have 6 questions, and from the 6 questions, they come from the following compositions. There's usually a descriptive, argumentative, discursive, expository, as well as a narrative. For example, let's go through question 1. Write a story with the following statement: surely good people still exist. Surely good people still exist. Okay, 1. 2. Your friend has problems with her 14-year-old daughter who seems to be spending a lot of time with other boys and always going home late. Write a letter to your friend to explain some factors that lead to teenage pregnancies. 3. Describe an incident in which one of your relatives was sexually abused. 4. Write a story with one of the following titles: either The Unfair Judgment or Every Dog Has Its Day. Number 5. Payment of bride price, in brackets, dowry, in the African society should be abolished. Argue for or against this statement. Number 6. Explain how culture can be a solution to the country's problem. So you realize that question A was a narrative, question 2 was a discursive, question 3, just from the start, descriptive, question 4, narrative, question 5 is asking you to speak for or speak against, or which is question 5, which is the what? Argumentative. So you will see that throughout, from in section A, question 1 to question 6 are always compositions under the following. So it's important for us to go through this composition writing so we know how to tackle each and every one of them. So this is how we're going to flow through this December month period, because we're going to know how we're going to go through all the composition writing. Once we're done with composition writing, then we'll switch to structure writing. Okay, so remember, every composition writing has three major paragraphs, has three major parts, or three major aspects, not paragraphs, three major aspects. The first part is the introduction, followed by the main body, then concluded with the conclusive part. Okay, so in your introduction, you always aim to arouse or capture or just get the reader interested in what you're going to talk about. In introduction, this is where you get to define vital terms. If you're given a topic, you define those terms, you define what the topic is about, then you put down what you're going to talk about. This all happens in what? In the introduction. You're introducing to us what you're going to write about or what you're going to talk about. So the type of writing would depend on the nature of the composition given. Okay? So here are tips or hints to go through each and every composition. I have only talked about the introduction. I'm here to talk about the main body as well as the conclusive part. Please be patient with me. Okay, so hints to writing a good quality excellent composition. Number 1, read all questions carefully. Please and please and please do not rush through. Do not just look at the question, choose which one is comfortable. Read through all the questions. When you read all of them, do not start writing your composition until you are fully sure of what to expect of you. Okay, what is expected of you. Understand the question. Know what the examiner wants you to do in that question. Once you understand, once you are fully sure that okay, this one I would do it, it would greatly help you if you choose the question which appeals to your experience or to your interest. Okay, at least something that you have vast knowledge on, something that you know very well. If I were writing this exam, I would pick on sexual abuse. Okay, because I have been exposed to peer education, and so I have had a lot of encounters with this topic. So I would choose this one and I would express myself so well. So you choose a matter that you have so much knowledge on, not something that you do not know. Number 1, fully understand the question. Read and understand all the questions. Pick on one question, and then do not, before you start write, don't even rush to write. Do not rush to write. What you do firstly is you plan. You plan what you're going to write on, what you're going to talk about in that composition. So in your planning, you write down your major points. So remember, I said every composition has 3 major aspects: introduction, main body, as well as the conclusion part. So in your planning, you look at points. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 points I will mention in my introduction. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I will put in my main board. Then 1, 2 will be recommendations or conclusions, which I will put in the conclusion part. That will guide you. Why are you planning? So that you don't underwrite or overwrite. Okay, you plan. Remember, the question says write between 250 to 350 words. So planning helps you to be within the word limit and also to bring out relevant points so that you are not everywhere. Read through the question, understand the question, plan out the question. Once you choose the question that you want, plan it out so that you do not underwrite or overwrite. Okay? If you overwrite, meaning you've spelled out unnecessary information. If you underwrite, meaning it's lacking, it's missing the words, it's missing the points that are valid. Okay, so I've spoken on 3 parts. Read through the question, understand it. Secondly, plan. 2 parts. Plan. We got the 3rd point. The 3rd point, this one for you will be, before you start to write, after you do your planning, once you do your planning very well, then now start to write patiently. But as you start to write, remember I told you to read and understand the question. No, are you asked to write a descriptive, argumentative, discursive, expository, or a narrative? So that as you write, each composition has its own format. As you start to write, you have the format in mind. You start with the format. If it's a formal letter, How does a formal letter present? Of course, there's a title somewhere. If it's a letter that requires you to write an address, put it down. Always know when you're done planning, know the format. When you know the format of the question they've given you, then you can start. Okay? Once you understand the format, once you know what you're writing on, once you've planned, now you can start writing your composition writing. And then remember to say, as you are writing, avoid using unnecessary words, unnecessary roundabouts, words like I gave a test to one of the grade 12s to write a descriptive composition, and I kept seeing people using words that were unnecessary sentences, just trying to hit the word limit. But that's not right. Why? Because you're giving me irrelevant information. So I want what's valid. So what do I mean by unnecessary information? Imagine someone saying the mother to my mother when they can easily say my grandmother, or saying sister to my father when you can easily say my aunt. Okay, so avoid using unnecessary roundabouts when writing descriptive or composition writing in general. Okay, number 3, as you are writing, after you've planned out, you've explained your point, you've written down the format, you've written your composition, read through what you've written to note the 3 things: your punctuations, your tenses, and the formal language used. One, I'll start with punctuations. We know that punctuation marks, these are symbols that we use in English to have a proper written composition or proper written English, be it a sentence, be it a clause, be it a paragraph. Punctuations are very important. Read through your work. Do not rush through. Running, hanging sentences disqualify you. They make you lose marks. Okay? Punctuate. Where there's need for a comma, put the comma. Where there's need for a full stop, where there's need for quotation marks, where there's need for anything, put it there. Punctuate. Okay? After you punctuate, understand what you're writing. Once you've done that, the next thing I talked about was tenses. Always know what tense are you writing in. Each type of composition has the type of tense to use. An example is a two that I've mentioned, narrative and descriptive. You know that narrative is always written, okay? You know that narrative is always written in past tense. Narrative is always written in past tense, and then descriptive is always written in present tense. Okay? So understand the tenses you're using. Don't just write it. You one step you're in the back, the next you're back to the present, the next you're in the future. That's why it was important for us to plan so that you write nicely. Now how to connect those points is to use present tenses. Is to use the present tenses, past tenses, and futuristic tenses. Okay? So we've addressed this matter. Punctuations, tenses. Now we're going to formal language. In English, you do not use slang, you do not use shortcuts, you do not use abbreviations. You use formal writing, formal English, unless you've been taught to write an informal letter. With an informal letter, you can use words that since you're relating with the person. But with a formal letter, you need to be formal. Like question 2 says, your friend has problems, so you are writing to your friend. Of course, there's how you relate with your friend. But if it was to maybe a reporter or the editor, there's a type of English we use. Why? Because it's formal English throughout. Okay, and avoid abbreviations. Any composition, avoid abbreviations at all cost. Avoid using abbreviations. Unless you've written the full word in the title, abbreviated it, written it in introduction, abbreviated it, then you can start using the abbreviation. At least then you've acquainted or you've made the reader used to the abbreviations. Okay? So, but avoid them at all costs. So avoid them. Then lastly, I'm going to talk about not using numbers or digits. In English, if you're going to state a number, let's say 2000 years ago, you do not use numbers. You don't write 2000. No, you write them in words throughout, unless only if you're writing dates, addresses, phone numbers, or anyway, basically these are the ones that we look at. Portal numbers, things that are meant to be in digits. But the rest, years, ages, we always write them in English words. Okay, so now conjunction words. In composition, we always use conjunction words, but avoid using common words like and throughout. It becomes what? A repetition of words. So instead of using and, what you can use are words like were still, moreover, furthermore, in addition to, similarly. Why? Because you're adding on the words to adding on sentences. Instead of busy saying and, it shows repetition. So these are words that you can use. Also, if you're giving reason for something, avoid using because, for, as, so, especially so. It's just like a child is talking to you. You know how children talk? Just when starting the sentence, they'll start with so. You then know that this conversation is not going anywhere. So what you do is, instead of using because, for, as, so, you use words like therefore, thus, hence, consequently, as a result. At least you're showing the reader that I know these conjunction words. Remember, conjunction words, these are words that we use to connect sentences, okay, so that we do not have running sentences. Okay, also, maybe if you have a contradictory or opposing statement, avoid using but, yet, okay. Use words like however, nevertheless, nonetheless, even so, or although. Although is a very formal word. But is not okay. It's very informal, okay? It's very informal. So in an informal letter, it's okay, but in a formal letter, it's not okay. All right. I think I have introduced us to a composition. So the qualities of a good composition. It is easy to read. The handwriting is clear. Please, your handwriting in English matters. If you have a cursive handwriting, for the sake of the reader, you don't know who's reading your work, if they're able to read cursive or not. Most people fail English not because they do not know how to write it, but because of handwritings. Handwritings are important. Make sure you make your work easy to read. Easy to read. I'm not saying be careless, but I'm just saying make it easy to read. With your cursive, write it neatly but easy to read. Okay, so number 1, it should be easy to read, written in an excellent handwriting. Number 2, a good composition has correct spellings, correct punctuations, and correct tenses. Okay, number 3, a good composition has short and long sentences. Short and long, meaning you're mixing. Here you're putting short, there you're putting long sentences through and through. Okay, a good composition has paragraph, well indented paragraph. Indexed paragraph, this means, you know how when we're starting a paragraph, I think this one I'll come and re-say it in a physical class so that we learn how to index. To index is simply to show that this is the start of a new paragraph. There's that space that we leave to show that this is the start of a new paragraph. That is a good composition. Through and through, you're showing us, okay, this paragraph has ended, this one has started. Okay, it has a variety of structures. Okay, so remember I talked about the 3 major parts: the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion part. So in the introduction, the aim is to arouse or capture the interest of the reader. Okay, So this is why you use striking examples, you make quotations. This is where now you define vital points. This is where you present your matter, you present the topic you're going to talk to us about. Number 2, so your paragraph, your introduction must always have one paragraph. Introduction must always have one paragraph. An introduction should not have 5 paragraphs are just introducing. No, one paragraph is enough. Introduce in one paragraph, done. If you feel a paragraph is too long, it's beyond 5 to 6 sentences, you can write another short one, but very short, to just supplement the first one, but not to also have 6 lines. No. Short introduction. You go to the next one, which is the main body. So in the main body here, now you're answering the questions in a balanced manner. You're advised not to leave the reader in suspense. Even if you're told to write a story, do not leave the reader asking, what happened? Who is who? Like, answer things according to how you've been asked. Okay, it's important. Your main board can have about 3 to 4 paragraph max. I think 4 is even an exaggeration. 3 paragraphs is enough, unless you're writing a report and they've given you points to point out, only then. But 3 paragraphs enough. 3 to 4 paragraph maximum. You have your main board. Your conclusion can have 1 paragraph. Your conclusion, 1 paragraph. So in here you can restate the main ideas that you stated in the main board that you explained on. Here you're not explaining, just stating them. Okay, you're drawing a conclusion for us. So you're showing us, okay, so in ending the matter, you can also recommend or advise if you're asked to. Okay, so consider what might happen in future. So you're recommending in future, advise that we don't do this or we do this. You give your personal points in the conclusion parts. Use appropriate quotations, restate the main ideas. Okay, what might happen in future, what can be avoided, and that's how you go about composition writing. Okay, now we can go through narrative writing. So this is the introduction to the first composition, narrative writing. Please just listen through this video. I will send a document with some notes early Monday morning or Monday mid-afternoon. I will send some notes with what to accompany what I'm saying. So there'll be notes on composition writing, a few notes on narrative and descriptive. Okay, I think we're good to start narrative writing. So we'll start with defining what narrative writing is. So from just the word itself, narrative, you know that to narrate is to tell a story. Okay, to narrate is to tell a story. And so why have I started with narrative? Because in section A of paper 1, it has 6 questions, and on these questions, some are guided, some are not guided. Like the way you've been told to write a story with a statement, surely good people still exist. Surely good people still exist. You've not been guided what type of composition it is. So it's you, the candidate, who should read through all the questions and then choose the topic with which you are familiar with. Okay? So the major types of compositions that we have in these sections are the ones that I mentioned at the introduction: narrative, descriptive, argumentative, discursive, and expository. So these are the types of letters that are tested mostly in this section. Not even mostly, always in this section, as well as section 2. So narrative writing, as I said, to narrate is to tell a story. So a narrative writing is one which describes an action. It describes something that happened. Okay? I have met people that are good storytellers. They will watch a movie, and when they come and tell you what they watched in that movie, you feel like you've watched the movie. Such that after their narration, I come and watch the movie. I don't even have interest to watch the movie because every part feels like something that they said already. Okay? So this is simply what that is. To narrative writing is telling us about an action, describing that action to us. Just like that, as I said, this composition writing has the beginning, the middle part, and the ending. So it describes an action. This one answers the question, what happened? What happened? Why do we write a narrative? It's to entertain. In most cases, we write a narrative to entertain. Rare cases, like the way we've been given to this one to say, so you're entertaining, you're encouraging, and you're teaching a lesson. Like the second question, you're teaching something to the friend. Okay, so key features. Narrative answers questions like so this one, the key features that it has are things that talk about where this action happened, when it happened, who was involved, what happened. It answers what happened. So it just talks about where it happened from, when it happened, who was involved. Majorly, this is what a narrative has. It has characters, it has sites, it has a time frame. Okay, so here maybe is an example of when and where answered in a sentence. So it can say maybe it was in the morning in our quiet village. I've answered when and where. It was in the morning. When? Where? In our quiet village. Okay, and then you say when my grandfather came, and then you're explaining. Now you're introducing the characters. So a narrative, it has a title. Some may have titles, some may not have titles, but usually you're told, you're advised where to put, where not to put. Okay, so like this one, the first one, write a story. So you will put a title. It's a story. We don't know what the story is about, so you will put a title. Of course, the title is not the question which says surely good people exist. No, the title should be something else. You put a title, you write down, but the ending should have surely good people still exist. Okay, all right. Okay, so you write your title, then you write your story. If I was given this one, surely good people still exist, I would talk about a moment when I was stranded. Honestly, stranded in town. It was in the evening, all the buses had finished, and there was one bus that was that last bus in town where they're saying they're going to your direction, but when you get on the bus they change the route. Your direction is further on, but they decide to end the route halfway, and they say bus yafika. And this was at an awkward time, and so I was a little stranded, but this person came through, had me get off. We got another bus together, and it was evening and didn't have any money left, and this person offered to pay for me, didn't ask for my number, didn't ask for my name, and we parted ways like that. So you see, good people still exist, and there's many other ways you can describe that good people still exist. So with a narrative, there's not really much to it, except that you always write a narrative in past tense. Okay, you always write a narrative in past tense, and also we have first and third person participle in English. So when you're writing in first person participle, this simply means you're talking about yourself. You, the one that's writing, you're talking about yourself, which is first person participle. So the writer speaks about himself. This is why you use words like I, me, my, we, us. So meaning you're part of the story being written. Okay, you're included. We, us, our, you're part of the story, so you're included in the story. And then we can also use third person participle. So a third person participle, this is why you're talking about someone else. You're not talking about yourself, you're talking about someone else. You're describing an event that happened to someone else. Like the movie I was saying. He went, he came, he sat. You're describing, but about someone else. So here you use words like he, she, they, him, her, a lot. Them, his, theirs. You're not part of the story, but you're just explaining the story. But with that, gospels, because they're not part of it, but they'll tell you the story like they're part of it. Okay, so that is a descriptive, that is a narrative writing, that is a narrative writing. The format, there's not really a format, it's just the title. You only start your writing. Of course, the paragraphing is important. Here is a sample. I'll send the sample together with the notes. So this one talks about the teacher. Okay, So in this one, or maybe let me just capture it, I'll send it in the notes, you read through. It won't make much sense if I'm just reading it and you're not seeing what I'm reading. Okay. So other times you're told to stories like write a story with the following headings. Nobody thought it could be done. The other question says there's no time for everything. The other question says write a story with the following headings. There is no smoke without fire. The other one says still waters run deep. Another one, write the story ending with justice finally prevailed. Write a story with one of the following titles. Make hay while the sun still shines. The other question says he was as much to blame as I was. Okay? Narrative is as simple as that. There's not much to it. Okay, and we're done with a narrative. Now we can journey to a descriptive writing. So remember, definition, narrative tells a story. It has characters and it answers the question when and what happened. When, where, what happened. Okay, you always use past tense in narrative. Now we go to descriptive writing. Okay, so in descriptive writing, this is a composition that paints a picture with words. In other words, you are letting me see the world through your words. You're letting me journey with you through your words. Okay, it gives detailed information about a person, a place, an object, or an event. Remember, a narrative is focused on events. A narrative is more on what happened, but a descriptive focuses on people, places, objects, and also events. With a descriptive, there is use of all the five senses: the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of taste, the sense of feeling. You use all of them. Use all the five senses. If it's something that you saw, you describe it. You describe its shape. You describe everything about it. Describe its shape. You describe its color. If it's something you even touched, you describe, is it soft? Is it rough? Is it smooth? You describe all that. If it's something you tasted, you describe, is it sour? Is it bitter? Is it mild? Is it sweet? Is it salty? If it's something you smelled, you still describe it to us. Did the smell like roses? You entice us by what you say. Was it big? Was it small? Was it rough? Was it smooth? A descriptive. This is the most pervasive writing there is. This is why we have people like poets. From just writing descriptive composition, poets are born. Why? Because a poet also tries to make you see things the way that they see it. They'll pick on a topic. And explain it in detail so well. Okay? So in descriptive writing, there is a lot of use of adjective and adverbs. I will explain this one in structure more, but for just introduction purpose. So when you talk about adjectives, we're talking about words that give quality to a noun. Words that explain a noun better. Okay? A noun, remember, a noun is a name in words. So when you talk about words that give quality to a noun, we're talking about words that tell us more about the noun. More about the person, the place, or the object that we are naming. Maybe let's say Mary. Mary is a beautiful girl. So the noun there would be beautiful. Why? Because it's explaining more about the noun. Then adverbs, these ones explain more about a verb. So these ones explain, remember, verbs are doing words. So an adverb, this one tells you more about what the verb is. I'm trying to think of an example. Trying to think of an example of an adverb. Okay, let me say this sentence which captures both the adjective and the adverb. Let's say, the golden sun slowly sank behind the hills. The golden sun slowly sank behind the hills. So here what I have done is I'm describing a sunset. A sunset looks very golden if you look at it. It's golden, the sun looks golden, and then it's slowly sinking behind the hills. If you live in a place that has hills, you think the sun is sinking. Meanwhile, the sun is just going down. Okay, so here the adverb and the adjective. The golden sun. Sun is a naming word. Okay, sun is a noun, so golden becomes the adjective. Slowly sunk behind the hills. Slowly is the adverb, sunk is the verb. Okay, but don't worry, do not battle with it. We'll go through, we'll address it more during our structure lessons. So things to remember when writing a descriptive. Number one, I've said you use the use of senses. Senses are very important. Number two, we said the use of adverbs. The use of adverbs and adjectives is very important. Okay, so with a descriptive, it has a format unlike a narrative. With a descriptive, when you're describing a person, of course you will have your introduction, your main board, and your conclusion part. But here is what's different about the descriptive and the narrative. With the narrative, it's just a story, so it will flow according to how you let it flow. But with a descriptive, it has a format. So mostly a descriptive may have 5 paragraphs at max, 5 paragraphs. So the first paragraph, of course, is the introduction. Your introduction, if maybe you're describing a person, your introduction should have the name of the person, the sex, the age, the nationality, and maybe how long you've known the person. Okay? And if there may be a professional person, if they're a religious person or a political person, you tell us that in the introduction. And then the second paragraph, which now introduces the main board. So with the main body here, you're talking about physical features. Is he tall? Is he short? Does he have bald, or is he bald? Does he have hair? Is he deformed? Like, tell us now things that are physical about the person. Is he light? Is he dark? Is the hair short, long? Everything about him. So paragraph 2 is physical features. Paragraph 3, if this person is an academic person, you tell us about their professional qualifications, experiences. You tell us more about the person. Paragraph 4, their general conduct, how they smile, how they laugh, what entertains them. Paragraph 5, of course, as I said, is a conclusion. So you express the personal wish or give readers details by which we can identify him by their mannerism, their etiquette. Okay, but I'll give you notes, so don't worry. That's that about describing a person. Number 2, when you're describing a place, paragraph 1, you name the name of the place. Introduce in the introduction the name of the place, the geographical location, the background. Let's say you're describing Kawata. Remember, Kawata has a history. It was named after someone. So you bring those things, the background, the activities that are mostly done in the place. Okay, these are all in paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, you'd focus more on the structure of the buildings that are there, like everything about it, where everything is placed. And then you'll flow like that up to paragraph 5, where you now conclude. If you have anything regrettable or anything unforgettable about the place, you tell us. Anything that captured your mind, you recommend to us. Okay? So you've talked about a person, a place. Now if you're describing an object, you tell us, of course, the name of the object, where it was made, the size, the weight, everything about it, the beauty, how it feels in the hand, what it looks like, what it smells like. Okay? The mode of operation, the functions, these now come in the main body. So in here also, the functions, you tell us the warnings that are there. In conclusion, you tell us your personal wish or what you think about the object. Okay, and then I'll leave the 2 for you. I'll leave the 2. So your assignment will be for you to tell me the format of writing a descriptive writing of an animal and a descriptive writing of an event. So just the format on these 2. I'll come and explain on them, but just want you to show me so that I should know that you've watched throughout this video and that you've understood. Okay, please feel free to reach me. This marks the end of our online class. I will give you an example on both the descriptive and the narrative in our physical class. Thank you so much for having me. I have been your tutor, Madam Gracious. Please feel free to inbox me if there are any concerns. Feel free to text me if there are any questions, or if you found some questions somewhere and you want to attempt them, please feel free. But I'll come and explain further so that even as I give you work, you know what you're writing on. Okay, thank you so much for having me this evening. Have a great evening.